example, in the financial thing, if you take a look, in 2008, they were making swaps, but from conventional they have taken this hedging methods probably this would not be the market not be this much, and the price would be double that because in 2008 the next gasoline price went to significantly increased the price of oil.
So compared with 2008 and 2009.
The expectations of the whole company.
And what is the purpose of regression?
The purpose of regression is the pricing symmetry, how the prices, the natural prices change due to oil prices.
Am I supposed to get comments or?
Yes, please.
That's my goal. This will. Okay. Let me start from the very first page. Okay, from the first page, you probably need to add a subtitle at the very first page. It says risk hedging behavior of criminals and finance companies. Maybe you should have a subtitle saying like before the foreign exchange liquidity crisis of 2008. Maybe you need a subtitle because we're talking about 2008, right? And then in the introduction, I think we need to do more studies, understand what went on, because this kind of shows you that you have not fully understood what was going on. I mean, the swap market dislocation is not the reason for.
I made a mistake here.
It says that, it's not it didn't provoke the increase of borrowing rate of foreign denominated. No. Okay.
Because commercial banks, the foreign exchange
no, it's actually the other way around. The commercial banks borrowing too much, borrowing too much, and especially doing swap contracts with the foreign bank branches in Korea, that led to the dislocation of the foreign exchange swap. So, I mean, you need to rewrite this introduction part. And the rapid depreciation of the Korean won, that's when the Korean banks fail to roll over their short-term debt. So that's the missing part. That's the essence of the crisis, not being able to rolling over the short-term foreign exchange debt. There needs to be some explanation on that. And you need to, and here you're saying about exporting firms, right? Hedging, selling long forward contracts, but it's not all exporting firms, it's mostly shipping companies. So you may want to narrow down what you're talking about. It's just shipping companies, not all exporting companies who are selling forward contracts. And another thing is you should be careful how to use terminologies. Here you said selling their long forward contract. Nobody uses this kind of a term. It's just selling a forward contract or taking a short position in the forward contract. No one says selling a long forward contract. So you need to be careful how people use this term forward contract. And if you move on to hypothesis, you have first and second hypothesis. First is Korean oil refinery firms didn't do much of derivative transactions to date. No action in terms of foreign exchange. Okay. So you need to restate this. They are doing foreign exchange risk hedging, but not using the derivative. They are doing netting. Okay. So you need to change it. Here, it is as if it's giving a wrong impression. It's saying that they're doing nothing. That's what you're saying. You're saying they're doing nothing, but they're actually doing something. They're doing internal foreign exchange risk management. So you need to rewrite this saying that they were not really active in engaging in the forward market, forward contract. So restate that. Okay, and I'll come back to that issue later on. Literature review, exposure, segment instruments, methodology, data, and going to the empirical study, the bunch of tables you have. I understand that this is very preliminary. That's why you have this messy table here, but you need to, organize this. Right? You need to organize this so that people can see what is going on. And to make it comparable across companies, you need to scale it, meaning that you need to divide by some kind of variable that picks up the size of the firm. Okay? So you either want to divide by like the book equity of the firm, or divide by the asset size of the firm. You have to do something about this, otherwise no one will be able to read this. Yeah. And just to compare here, these are the firms that made a lot of loss in terms of foreign transaction translation. But you may want to also, forget about it. So this is one thing. This is ex post loss. So you want to show ex post loss as a way to prove that your first statement is true. They were not engaging in a lot of derivative transactions. But this is a very indirect evidence. So in order to give a more direct evidence, if you have time, like I told you, go through the annual reports of each of the companies. If there are too many companies, just stick with these old refining firms. There are not many. There are only 3 listed old refining firms. And see if they have done engaged in some derivative transactions. So just going to their 2008 annual report, there is a section talking about whether they engage in foreign exchange derivative transactions, and you may summarize those findings. It's not a sophisticated analysis, just reporting what's in the annual report, because that would be a much of a direct evidence. And regression results interpretation is very important. Here you show the numbers, but interpretation, you need to think more about how to interpret the results. The key variable that you should be looking at is the symbol that says ER underbar CH underbar P. Okay? This is impact of the domestic oil price when there is an increase in the exchange rate. Okay, that's the focus, right? When the exchange rate rises, the oil refining firms push up the domestic price to transfer the burden. And in your full sample result, all the coefficients are highly significant and positive, which supports your argument, right? They are pushing up the domestic oil price. But one question I have is, why are the P-stats negative? I don't understand. I think this is a typo. You probably want to check. The P-stats are like -3 point something. I don't get it. And in your subsample result is pretty weak. So you might want to check whether your analysis was correct, your coding was correct, because they look very different here. So you might want to check that. And I'm not sure whether your conclusion is correctly stating your result. And in fact, I don't understand what you're saying here. It has nothing to do with your hypothesis. In your conclusion, what you have to say is whether my empirical result supports my hypothesis or not. That's all you need to say.
I didn't know what to say, just made it up because
you made it up. No,
I didn't calculate the real.
Okay, because in your hypothesis you said nothing about variability in booster of the economy. You never said anything about random intensive domestic sensitivity. And this is kind of coming outside. So you just state what you have found, okay, and just say whether my result supports or not supports the hypothesis.
my comment is basically the same as the hypothesis correct? At the one stage, what we conducted in relation to the table. Real conclusion or not real conclusion.
Well, but in case of crunching, they are connected. If the chain rate when it's frequency,
I'm not saying the specific result. I'm saying the forward map of the question? Right time, right? All right, thank you very much. Okay.